Hey folks, how's everybody doing? Hope y'all doing well out there on this beautiful planet that we call the Earth. Coming to you from my kitchen. Why am I in my kitchen? Well, I just tried to make this video in there, sitting in my little office, and it's just so small with nothing but concrete block walls, very little furniture. It's just such an echo. I had to scrap it and start over. I said, let me try it out in the kitchen. You know, my little combat outpost here is not the ideal studio. I need to soundproof those walls in there. Hang up some milk crates, not milk crates, some little egg cartons, that's it, not milk crates, fool. Soundproof that room. Or just take my camera and go out in the woods somewhere where there's no echo. With all that said, let's talk about the Titan Submersible. It's been talked about so much over, what, past 2 weeks now? Has it been that long? Since Father's Day? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. And you may not like my opinion, that's fine. Leave your comments and everything down below. But my question is, why would two billionaires pay this fool $250,000 a seat to take a ride on a redneck engineered fucking Coke can to their demise? And oh, you don't know everything about it. Well, no, I don't, but I'm going to tell you this. 5 minutes of research with Professor Google. 5 minutes. It took me 5 minutes not knowing the first thing about submersibles or submarines or any of that type of technology other than what I've seen in videos and movies and documentaries. 5 minutes of research convinced me that there is no way in hell I would have got on that little homemade bathtub. Not even if he was going to take me for a tour in my grandfather's catfish pond to see how many catfish were on the bottom of that 30-foot pond. No way in hell. 5 minutes of research. I didn't have that opinion initially because initially I don't know shit about submersibles. Probably like you didn't know anything either. If you first saw a picture of this OceanGate Titan, okay, all right, whatever, you know, it's technology to take you down to the depths of the ocean. But if you spend 5 minutes looking at real submersibles that have been professionally engineered, certified, been working for years, after 5 minutes of looking at pictures, you don't even got to read anything. Just look at the images and then look at that homemade bathtub and deductive reasoning. If you have any deductive reasoning skills at all, you'll come to the conclusion that that gentleman's craft, whatever you want to call it, was not safe. And I hate using the word safe. I'm not a sergeant safety type. But there's a difference in pushing the envelope or going on a suicide mission. I'm a thrill seeker. I used to jump out of airplanes. I've been scuba diving, mountain climbing. Trust me, my whole life I've taken risks. I still take risks. But I'm not dumb enough to go on a one-way suicide mission. I'm going to live to be 107. Maybe when I'm 107, I'd do something just to end it. But anyhow, 5 minutes. What I did, and I'm going to show you some pictures. I went and I researched for 5 minutes these submersibles, and there's a company called Titan Submarines that professionally manufacture, have engineered submarines that go to different depths. One of their submarines, I guess, is certified to go anywhere. In other words, to the deepest depths of the ocean. They've got one that's certified to go 13,000. I think it's called the Titanic model or whatever. Take a look at these pictures. And it goes back to Sesame Street. One of these kids is doing his own thing, right? Which of these don't belong? I mean, it's pretty simple. If there's a picture of 3 apples and an orange, you know the orange don't belong. We'll put pictures of real engineered submersibles up. Okay, you see what we're looking at, and then boom, put a picture of this homemade job and you know it don't belong. Okay, it's just that simple. So anyhow, I'll show you a series here of the interior of what a professional submersible is supposed to look like, one that will take you down there and bring you back up alive, and then you look at the interior of this guy's homemade tin can, bathtub, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Maybe you think I'm being insensitive, but folks, it is what it is.
Game controller. It's made by Logitech. Game controller. It's made by Logitech. And that's it. And that's it. And that's it.
This dude's got one push button to power this entire sub. He's controlling it with a fucking Logitech controller. He admits it's a Logitech. He's too cheap to buy a fucking Sony. I mean, everything about this thing is just redneck engineered. It's just, you know, when I talk about these business owners over here in Southeast Asia, a lot of people who come over here from the West and open businesses, they're just doing it as a hobby. They're never going to make a dime. They want to try to convince you they're making money, but really they'll never make their investment back. It's a hobby business. They lose money every fucking month. They just do it for something to do. And what it looks like this dude did was he was trying to take his hobby, his passion, which was way out of his scope of expertise, and somehow make money off of it, right? When in actuality, he's a hobby business owner, but he was losing so much money, he had to figure out a way to generate some money, and he pushed the envelope. And I think there's a little bit of a scam that was going on. You'll have to follow me here. Okay, so many times this thing would go out and there would be a problem. They would scrub the dive, right? Well, yeah, there obviously, apparently, all the testimony, there's so many problems that went wrong with this homemade thing. What do I want to call it? This fucking homemade jalopy. But I think that he was reaching and searching for a reason to scrub the dive, to give people a reason. This is why we didn't go. Because if that thing had went down on every trip that it was scheduled to go on, it would have imploded a couple years ago, right?
We're in the water, we're floating. Woo!
At this point, divers are supposed to detach the sub from its launch platform.
So apparently those floats there came off the platform, and that wasn't supposed to happen.
So we're scrubbing?
Yeah, I think that's the consensus up here.
Copy that.
So I think there was a little bit of a scam going on. This dude was just trying to elongate the process. He probably knew in the back of his mind that there's a fucking chance this thing is going to implode. And so any chance he got to scrub it, he was scrubbing it to elongate, sort of like a pyramid scheme.
As early as 2018, there was concern about the Titan's design. A former employee says that when he raised safety concerns, Rush fired him. That same year, a group of submersible engineers urged Rush to seek certification of the Titan by a safety agency. Rush declined, saying that regulation would stifle innovation.
I don't know, that's just the feeling I get. Even though he was drinking his own Kool-Aid and he was putting it out there, he didn't have a choice because he was already committed. He was already committed, and if this thing fucking went away, it's financial disaster for him, right? And when you get backed into that corner, what will you do? To save your ass and pay your mortgage, you'll lie. People will lie. People will stretch the fucking truth. They'll take risks. They'll do anything they have to do to get that money coming in. And if you watch that interview with the billionaire from Vegas and his son that were supposed to be on it, and then they backed out, and then the guy gave him a text message with a discount price, $175 a seat or $150 a seat. He knocked off like, what was it, $75,000 a seat trying to get him to go. That's desperation. That's desperation. They were already operating on a shoestring budget, and so you got to bring that money in somehow. They were just, when you're operating on that shoestring budget, it's a very thin line between your fucking business going bankrupt or staying afloat. And that's what I see. I mean, it wasn't just his flawed design. It was, they were teetering on going broke.
The number of partners and folks who were sort of on the sidelines waiting to see how it turned out are all now super excited to join in, recognize, well, maybe that'll collapse, or other pieces that have started to come down.
The whole world knows now OceanGate's business was taking adventure seekers on these Titanic dives
Well, we're sitting on the Titanic.
Yeah.
We're on the Titanic.
for $250,000 a ticket on a one-of-a-kind carbon fiber submersible called the Titan.
And so you had to keep it going. It's almost like a pyramid scheme. So back to all these homemade things on there. Oh my gosh.
Wow, we're operating the first side scan sonar at full ocean depth.
all right.
Challenger deep.
That's my toilet.
Like food bag, a couple.
Hopefully we don't have to use that.
Surface LF at southern wall.
Ready for unlock, or are we unlocked? Is he saying we are unlocked, or are we
Okay.
ready for unlock?
Yes, hey, give him an okay. Give him an in the dome.
Okay, would you like to do the honors?
Yes.
Let's go home. And you're just gonna push that button backwards.
Wow.
You're gonna hear it go click.
Okay.
And the surface weight has been released. Nope, leave that one to 3,500 meters. And you can see we are going home.
Oh yes, back up the elevator.
That's right.
I was also impressed by the sub's 7 redundant systems for returning to the surface.
These are roll weights. We can actually roll this up and those come off. That gains us some buoyancy to come back to the surface. Okay. These triple weights, we call them, are hydraulically driven.
Expedition manager Kyle Bingham.
Underneath this tray hang these bags. We're around 35 pounds. And those hang down there. Typical dive will have 8 of them. We can also use our thrusters. We have enough power to thrust back up. And then under this last fairing here, we have our variable ballast tank or soft ballast. It's an air bladder that we use a big 10,000 PSI air tank that's under the tail to fill that up, fill it with air, and then it helps bring us to the surface.
There were even sandbags that detach automatically after about 16 hours, even if everyone inside had passed out. Their connectors would dissolve in seawater.
So you have a backup of a backup of a backup of a backup of a backup.
Correct.
All you had to do was 5 minutes of research and you would realize you don't want to go on that vessel.
This is Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate and the designer of the sub. Last Sunday, as he was piloting the sub to the Titanic, it imploded, killing him and his 4 passengers. The world mourns the loss of Stockton Rush, P.H. Nargeolet, and their 3 passengers, British billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman.
Let me tell you who I mourn. I don't mourn the owner's death. I mean, I feel sorry for his wife and his family. But he went out his way. It was his life. He designed that. He fucking piloted it. He went down and he died doing what he does. I don't mourn his death. He went out his way. Okay? Instead of shitting himself in a nursing home for 10 years when he's 90 years old, 90 to 100, no, he went out his way. I don't mourn his death. I feel sorry for his family. My heart goes out to them. The older gentleman, PH, who'd been down to the Titanic 30-something times, don't mourn his death. My goodness, what a way to go out. What a way to die, doing what you love, what you're an expert at for decades. You know, he was an older gentleman, so how much longer did he have to live anyhow? He went out his way. Don't mourn his death. Just remember his legacy, right? The billionaire from, what's his name, Hamish Harding? I'm not mourning his death. This dude was a thrill seeker. He was a thrill seeker. This isn't his first rodeo, taking chances and risks that could result in death from his adventures. He went out doing exactly what he loved to do, and that was take risks and go on adventures. Again, my heart goes out to his family, but not to him. He went out his way. You got to respect him for that. The other billionaire, same deal. He paid that money. Supposedly him and his wife were supposed to be on that, but at some point she, I guess the son wanted to go as a Father's Day gift. I don't know the whole story. So the 19-year-old went down with his father. I mourn his death. The young man, that's the only person that I mourn because he was robbed of the rest of his life. Had a full life ahead of him. And because of his father's actions, he's no longer with us. So I mourn his death. But his father, no. The other three, no. They went out on their terms. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. It's just a matter of how. So those 4 grown men, hey, they put themselves in that position. But the 19-year-old would not have been in that position had it not been for the actions of his father and his mother. And so I truly mourn his death, and I feel sorry for his mother. But 5 minutes of research, say for example that dude called me up and said, hey, you want a free ride? Yeah, it sounds interesting. I would have got on that laptop in there, done the same 5 minutes of research I did before I started talking to you fine folks out there. And after 5 minutes of research, I would have called that dude back and said, bro, hell no. You're crazy as hell. And you're gonna fucking get somebody hurt. You're gonna die down there in that damn carbon fiber fucking tube with the plexiglass view hole. 5 minutes to turn them down. Well, the hell no, man. You fucking no. And you don't have to be a physicist or a marine biologist or whatever fucking expert is. A submarineologist, one who specializes in the study of submarines. Fuck, I don't know what you call it. You just have to have 5 minutes of research and this much deductive reasoning skills to say that was a disaster waiting to happen. So the question is, why didn't these billionaires do 5 minutes of research? They're obviously smart if they made their money on their own. Now maybe they made it the old-fashioned way by inheriting billions. You can be the dumbest motherfucker on earth, and if you inherit billions of dollars, well, that doesn't say anything about your ability in the ways of the world, right? I don't know, but if they made that money on their own, well, they're pretty smart people, right? They're billionaires. They're pretty smart to be able to manage that money. So how could they be so stupid to get on board this fucking homemade bathtub, this cardboard tube, and ride the elevator to their doom? And oh, by the way, what, 50 something, however many people had already done it, they didn't do the research either? And you're gonna pay this guy 250 grand? I don't understand those 2 billionaires. Let's just focus on them. If they'd done the 5 minutes, they would realize, wait a minute, this thing don't even look like a submersible. Why didn't he call the other billionaire and say, hey man, I got a better idea. Let's go 50-50 and let's buy our own damn submersible from this reputable company who has certified submersibles that can go to the depths of the fucking ocean. Let's go 50-50, a little timeshare. Then we don't need to depend on this asshole over here with his little homemade bathtub. We can take our submersible down, you know, once or twice a month. We can go eat dinner and drink wine on the bow of the Titanic and be pretty much comfortable that we'll make it back to the top. Wouldn't that have been a better idea if you're a billionaire? There were so many better ideas. They're what the old folks from where I'm from call educated fools. I'm from the backwoods of Mississippi, but those are educated fools. Now I can understand if you were a person that didn't have any money, right? Say you call me up and want to give me a free ride that's worth 250 grand. Well, that's a different mindset. You're like, holy shit, it's a chance of a lifetime. I'll never be able to afford a $250,000 trip to the fucking Titanic. That's a different mindset. But if I've got billions of dollars in the bank, okay, the same question is presented. After 5 minutes, I would probably still be interested, but I would go a safer route. I would use my money in a different way, because I would realize this dude's fucking crazy, you know? So that's just my question. And it goes back to a story. I've told this story before, but it basically goes something like this. I was down in Miami. I was living in Florida. I moved to Florida. I wanted to buy a boat. Hell, I'm living in Florida. I don't know how long I'll be here, but I'm going to buy me a fucking boat. So I started looking around at boats. I didn't know shit about boats. The only boat I had owned previously to buying the One Muff Diver was a 14-foot John boat when I was a teenager, right? I didn't even have a motor for it. It had fucking paddles. Go fishing in that thing. So I didn't know much about boats. But how do you find out about boats? How do you learn about boats? I just fucking went to some of the marinas and started hanging out. You know, and I walked down, I parked my truck, I go down this marina in Fort Lauderdale, and there's this old codger down there tinkering around with his boat. He had about a 28-foot, I would say, maybe I think a 28-foot twin engine. I can't remember what it was, but anyhow, he's tinkering around with it. And hey, man, can I ask you some questions? And just moved to Florida, think about buying a boat. And I don't know shit about boats. He was nice to me. He was still working, and we're talking. And so we start talking about, should I get a single engine or twin engine? And he's talking about, you know, pros and cons. And I said, well, you know, I got a slim budget. Hold on, Lazada. Okay, I'm back. That was Lazada with some important audio pieces I need. Anyhow, so I'm talking to this old dude, and we're talking about the twin engine aspect. I said, yeah, but if I get one with twin engines, it means twice the maintenance, twice the fuel consumption, you know, twice the, you know, the upkeep problems. I'm just kind of thinking, you know, why do I need two engines? The guy looked at me, he said, listen, imagine you're 40 miles out in the Gulf Stream. You know, if you're not familiar, there's a fucking current that runs north. You know, the U.S. is here, the Bahamas is here. That thing runs north, right? Deep water. He said, imagine you're out there, middle of the night, fishing by yourself. A storm starts rolling in on you. You go to crank the engine, and it won't start. How much is your life worth? He said, imagine that. How much is your life worth? Would it be worth a second engine? I'll never forget that. I mean, the words he said was, how much is your life worth? And then it put things in perspective, because if you're out there in that scenario, your life would be worth a second fucking engine. And the maintenance and the extra fuel consumption, it would be worth it. Than to be out there, you know, adrift in the middle of a fucking storm because your engine won't start. Where if you had twin engines, chances are one of them is going to start and you start motoring westbound back towards Miami. I never forgot that old dude. And as a side note to what he did, he was like a entrepreneurial fisherman. He didn't have a commercial fisherman's permit, but he would go out there at night and catch not swordfish. Yeah, swordfish. I think it was swordfish. Anyhow, he was going out there fishing on his own and, you know, selling fish to the restaurants, you know, in the back door. That's what he did, right? That's how he made money. So he was out there by himself. How much is your life worth? And to him, his life was worth having a twin engine boat. So I never forgot that old dude. He's probably either dead now or in a nursing home. Over 20 years ago when I had that conversation with the gentleman. And so I just questioned the sanity, the deductive reasoning skills of these two billionaires how much is your life worth? I guarantee you, the split second that thing imploded, it was probably worth a lot more than $225,000 a seat. I'm certain it was. But the split second that it imploded, it was too late. I mean, it was fucking too late when they got on that boat to go out there. But I think a better course of action for billionaires would be to buy something that's certified, reputable. Go with a reputable company, not some dude who built this fucking carbon fiber tube in his garage with parts from Camper World, Logitech. Camper World and Logitech are not brands known to be associated with submersibles and submarines. It's just not. So anyhow, folks, that's kind of my 2 cents. I'm gonna put these clips in the video. I'm sure you've seen most of them. But I just thought I would throw that out there. And I guess the big learning lesson is, how much is your life worth? That's what it boils down to. Yes, you have to take risks. It's like he says in the clip. If you want to be safe, don't get out of bed. The minute you walk out the door, either A, you can get robbed, assaulted in America, you can get shot, you can die in a car crash. What is it, 30 to 50,000 people every year in the US die in car crashes.
At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
If you want to be safe, you stay in bed, right? But it's like they say about a ship. A ship is safe in port, but a ship was not designed to stay in port. It's designed to be on the open ocean, which is risky, it's dangerous. Skydiving. The most dangerous thing about skydiving is the drive to the drop zone. You're more likely to die in an automobile accident driving to the drop zone than you are in any other aspect of skydiving. Then the airplane ride up is the second most dangerous. If you get to altitude and jump out of that aircraft, that's the safest part of skydiving. Your main fails, you have a reserve. All right? Do skydiving accidents happen every year? People die. But you're more likely to die in your vehicle, everyday life.
The risk of dying gives meaning to living. I think Stockton Rush was among.
It's going to get less expensive. It's going to get less expensive. It's going to get less expensive.
ATI had been preparing for months to ensure everything was ready for this critical moment. If the heated titanium lost too much heat during the transfer from furnace to the frame, then it could form incorrectly during the process, and there would be no choice but to start over. It was a critical sequence of events that could postpone and possibly end the entire expedition before it had even begun.
So the process of forging the hull is almost primal. It is an incredible thing to see because it's spectacular. But yeah, the pressure hull for the LF was forged in fire.
It was all made possible by the team that dared to take on the challenge of building what had been deemed by so many to be impossible.
An Everett-based company just finished building a submarine that they'll take to the Titanic this summer.
It's going to be amazing. It's part of a project to survey the wreckage of the ship. Como's Gabe Cohen got an up-close look today. He has more.
Pat, how long would it take you to take these off?
Our deep dive starts at sea level in the OceanGate workshop.
Cutting this a little bit.
Where the team is putting the final touches on Titan, their most advanced submersible yet.
Brings a tear to my eye.
That's Director of Engineering Tony Nissen.
It's a lot of pain to get here. That's all. It was a lot of pain to get here. We did this extremely fast.
Their goal was to build a vessel that can dive 3,800 meters for a mission to the Titanic. Titan is headed there in June. It can dive 4,000 meters, thanks in part to its carbon fiber structure.
The strength, weight, and buoyancy that we get out of it exceeds really any other material out there.
Tony says this frame will feel about 150 million pounds of pressure near the ocean floor, but the team inside won't feel a thing. A team of 5 will squeeze into Titan for each dive and view the wreckage on these monitors. To fly the vessel, the pilot uses a PlayStation controller. Over 6 weeks of dives, laser scanners and high-def cameras will map the Titanic and its decay over the past century. It's part of a larger project to study the effects of shipwrecks on our oceans.
And this is critically important when you realize that there are tens of thousands of shipwrecks from World War II, many of which sank with toxic chemicals and fuel oil on board.
The final pieces will be put on Titan this week. Then practice dives begin as they count down to their big descent.
The Titan wasn't like any previous deep-sea submersible. There was no dashboard, just a touchscreen computer and a single power button.
We only have one button, that's it. That's it.
Wait a minute, I've seen submersibles, and they are banks of controls, like cockpit after cockpit.
Exactly. This is to other submersibles what the iPhone was to the BlackBerry. This is to other submersibles what the iPhone was to the BlackBerry. This is to other submersibles what the iPhone was to the BlackBerry.
Many of its components seemed surprisingly cheap. For views outside the sub, he had installed store-bought security cameras. As for the ceiling lights,
I got these from Camper World.
And then there was the steering unit.
We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! So it seems like a lot of the way you made this is by taking off-the-shelf parts and sort of MacGyvering them together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does that not raise anybody's eyebrows in the industry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm definitely an outlier.
Everyone I know keeps asking me the same question. Why would you get on that dangerous sub? Well, first of all, Stockton Rush had the credentials. He majored in aerospace engineering at Princeton. He designed and flew his own airplanes. He designed previous submersibles. Second, he was emphatic that the important parts of the Titan were rock solid, like the carbon fiber body for which NASA served as a consultant.
There's certain things that you want to be buttoned down, and that's the pressure vessel. Once the pressure vessel is, you're certain it's not going to collapse on everybody, everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
Third, I was convinced by an expert, P.H. Nargelet, the veteran deep-sea explorer who also perished in the Titan. Over the years, he'd been to the Titanic more than just about anyone. Retired U.S. Navy submarine captain Alfred McLaren is not impressed by OceanGate's innovations.
I mean, would you fly in an airplane that somebody excitedly tell you, well, it's going to be a lot cheaper because we found a new way of attaching the wings? Yeah, right.
He theorizes that the Titan failed not because it was made of carbon fiber, but because it was made of 3 dissimilar materials: carbon fiber, titanium, and plexiglass for the porthole.
When you have different materials, different molecular structure, they have different coefficients of expansion and compression, and then you make repeated cycles in depth, of course you're going to work that seal loose.
I think there's a great, almost surreal irony here, which is Titanic sank because the captain took it full steam into an an ice field at night on a moonless night with very poor visibility. After he had been repeatedly warned by telegram, by Marconi.
I wanted to be sort of the Captain Kirk. I didn't want to be the passenger in the back.
The arrogance and the hubris that sent that ship to its doom is exactly the same thing that sent those people in that sub to their fate.
There were a lot of rules out there that didn't make engineering sense to me.
This is to other submersibles what the iPhone was to the Blackbird.
Risk versus reward. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Damn, that's a bad pun because they got squeezed down there. I don't know. Food for thought. Hope I invoked some thought in this little conversation. How much is your life worth? I guess that's the question. Loading the vehicles at the same time the passengers are loading, so maintain positive control of your kids. Wait. We'll wait till this young lady puts it on the chalk block. We got plenty of time. Now we can proceed. Dude just shoved her bags right here. What's up with that? Nice try, man. Upstairs, buddy. Nice try, though. Okay, so you can sit in here, right? And this is an interior compartment. Yeah, that's much better, my friend. That's much better up here. Okay, so now we're settled. But did I prove my point when I say don't let the porter choose your location? You want to sit up here. You don't want to sit in that interior compartment. If the damn ship goes down, how are you going to get out of that submarine? You want to be up top so you can just swim away from this bitch. If the damn ship goes down, how are you going to get out of that submarine? You want to be up top so you can just swim away from this bitch. Lazy ass just put the bags down below, wants a tip. That's what you deal with.
There were a lot of rules out there that didn't make engineering sense to me.